play a wider role on what is the decision point that you are coming in, on what basis you are coming to a decision. So here we are going to discuss about the entity relationship. If we have any data driven approach that you are going to follow. So if you have the existing data model in place, so all those things you are going to explain. The data requirements describe the business data needed by the application system. Data requirements do not describe the physical database. They got it. So what is this? Is in this case, say for example, if you are building an analytics system, say for example, if your application uh, is the one that is going to interact with the various social media. Say for example, for the instance, Facebook, LinkedIn, Tumblr, and you know uh, Pinterest. So these are the four social applications that your application is going to involve, that your project is going to involve. Now in this case, what is the data required is, so you will try to get a fair idea on the number of users involved in each and every case. So which is mostly used, which is very lessly used. So who are the users, the intended users who are going to use these applications. So all the data that you are going to collect it from the business side. So basically getting a fair amount of knowledge on who the business users are and how the business is run. So previous history of data that is available. So those things we are going to explain here. Always when we develop a system, we will try to get a business case from the for each and every requirement. We will try to get a business case from the the client company, the vendor company who is asking for the project. So based on the business case, we can develop our own okay. Then coming to the functional process requirements. So we are going to explain the functionality, like what is the process that it is going to involve. Say for example, if I'm going for a sign up, okay, sign up is a process. Now for a new user, where the sign up comes in, uh, please unmute your mic. This would be interactive in this case. So uh, now just we saw an example of having sign up process in the previous example. Like I was viewing the tamil.webdunia.com. Ultimately, from there I went into a sign up process. Okay.
Okay.
So now for this sign up process, you need to explain. So from where the lead comes in. So if the lead comes in, where is the landing page, what he could see, and from there, if he wants to have a course where he is going to sign up, what are the details you are going to capture in the sign up, whether the details captured, say the details shown are all are mandatory or non-mandatory. Then upon sign up, what is the impact that it has to create on the backend? Say the details are being captured and saved at the table. Say for example, guest table. So from the guest table, the data will be flowing to the mainstream. If the guest is going for a conversion, means asking for a software course to be taken, a certification course to be taken. So likewise, those process you need to explain it here. Okay, in the detailed view process. In the detailed view process. Then data attributes the input to and the output form processes. Okay. So here in this, what are the inputs that you are going to collect and what will be the output? The output is you got a lead. You need to convert this lead into an opportunity, from the opportunity to the sales close. So those things you need to explain here. Then what is the logic used inside the process? Maybe the one example that we have taken is a very simple case. So nothing big logic behind it, but still you have all the validations. So within the detailed view process itself, you can say what are the validations. So when I try to sign up, when I provided the invalid email, it is on the spot, on tab out, it is saying the email ID is invalid. So likewise, the mobile number was also, it was stated that as invalid. So you have all the validations in place to ensure that only the valid data are captured. Okay.
Okay.
And what is the access to stored data in this case? Say for example, access to stored data is uh, you log into your IRCTC site, okay, train travel booking site, and then you try start uh, 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 searching for one journey, and then trying to make your plan. So once the seats are available, then you go for booking. Now, when you are proceeding to booking, instead of waiting to, say for example, you are trying to enter six passengers data over there, so this is going to be a time consuming. Instead of that, what we can do, create a master travel record in which I uh, the regular frequent travelers list I have created it already. So in that case, what I am trying to do, instead of entering all the six members, I will click the master list. I will click the master list, go there, and then select whatever passengers that I require, and then easily I can go ahead and proceed to complete my transaction. So accessing of the stored data wherever possible. Got it? Bhavya?
Hello.
Yeah, got it.
Yes, Abdul.
Access of stored data. That is the case. Process decompose into final level of detail. If the detail is too big to explain it in a single case, then you segregate into smaller piece of items. A breakdown structure. You have your own breakdown structure, and then be clearer so that it is easily understandable by any layman also. So that is how we are going to decompose items into the final levels of details at each and every level. These operational requirements are describe the non-business characteristics as is being stated. So we are not going to much concentrate about this, but simply it is about how reliable the system is. We do not set distinguish these operational requirements for any business operation to be in place. You are going to explain the supporting operational requirements. Say your system must be in place, the need for the network connectivity, the need for the users log on credentials, all those stuff we are going to explain here. Those are basically non-functional items, and then the items that are being required to support your system, but which is not developed by. Okay. Then security aspect, when we say it is about the system security. Uh, Not all the users can straight away go for a transaction. Only the users with the valid credentials can go for the transaction. So during sign up process, what are the validations that you are going to have? Then if the if the account holders are having certain issue, then how you are going to retrieve their account. So all these aspects you can explain it here. Okay. Then user level access. Say for example, for an application that you develop, we have the admin user under staff user for an assumption. So admin user, as the name equals, it is going to have the highest precedence, and that particular user will be having all the rights. Whereas the staff user, you will limit certain instances. So when we view the application itself, so based upon the user who has logged in, what are the menus, what are the items that can be shown, what are the items that cannot be shown to the other users. So those things, security aspects, you are restricting it, right? The access level permissions that you are going to restrict it. That is what you are going to describe it as a security over here. Security for the process, for the project or the application that you are going to develop. Okay. Say for the
Okay.
insurance application, okay, that we discussed as an example, the insurance company will have the highest right and the access level than the agency users. Do you agree? Do you agree?
Okay.
So what we are trying to do is we are trying to give the application to the agency users so that they can use, but at the same time, the insurance company will have the highest right. Say for example, setting up the premium calculation. Okay, configuring the premium calculation. The agency user cannot do it. It's only the company. The business rule is going to be driven from the insurance company. So only those users in the insurance company will have certain rights, whereas the agency users will have a different set of rights or the access. So likewise, you are going to segregate the security and access to the application also the data. Say for example, the internal user will be able to see the entire business that the insurance company is doing. Okay, whereas the agency user will be able to only view his own. Say I am an insurance agent. Okay, I can view only the business that what I have given to the insurance company. It is not about the other agency users that who are supply, because this will give you a wrong perspective to the agent, and he might be either demotivated or it might create a vengeance. So there are so many aspects coming into place. So you are trying to restrict the users at each and every level to ensure that only those items that are accessible to the user must be provided to him. All the other items to be restricted. Got it?
Yes, Abdul.
Fine. Okay. Then yesterday too we discussed about audit trail. It is basically the recording of the activities, each and every recording of the activities. So all the applications will have, say for example, okay, in security I would like to explain one more thing. In the security, say for an example, you are logging into an IRCT application. Have you been to the IRCT application?
No, Abdul.
Okay, so any for the say for any booking application, say for example, you are going to search flights. Okay, after searching the flights, and then you are staying on the page for certain time. Once again, when you go and try to hit the refresh button, they will say your session has timed out. Need to come from the first search. Okay,
Okay.
so you are trying to provide a security level aspect over there. So in that, what you're trying to do is you're ensuring that after certain ideal time of the user, you are going to ask or the redirect the user to come from the first search, because the flight tickets prices are very much dynamic. So the prices might seem to be drastically change at every point of time. So you are trying to stop the user not to use the old data. So that is what, after 2 minutes of ideal time, you are making the session idle. Once the user is idle, and then trying to go up with the same case, you are trying to avoid the user not to take up the old data. Got it? That is one of the security aspects. So you are providing a session logout. You are trying to archive the session and then try to create a new session. Clear?
Okay, Abdul.
So audit trail is basically about having the latest logins. So whenever we log into any application via browser, you have the cookies that are being set, right? So that is going to record all your current activities that you are going to perform. It's basically the cookies are the application that you develop will have cookies that are being enabled. So that is going to have the activity that is being recorded. From the system point of view, for any audit trail, you're going to capture the latest record changes. Yesterday I told you, right? Say for example, I'm creating a user profile today. Tomorrow when I go and then it may change my image in the user profile. So the first day a record is being inserted. The second day when I go, it is only the update. So the older timestamp will be there. Means the created timestamp will be there. Then you have an updated timestamp. So likewise, you have the various timestamps that are available in the table. Okay. Uh, Okay, you see the picture here, right?
Yes, Abdul.
Okay, so you are going to set up uh, the permissions. You are going to set up at what instances I need to capture the timestamp for the table level. Say I have a table called user. Okay, a user profile. Okay, user underscore profile is the table. So for each and every record inserted, you have a line item that is being created. Say for example, Abdul created on 12th April 2000 meeting, created with the certain date, and then you have the other items that are like email ID, phone number, alternate contact number, all these details. The next day, the same user comes in. So who is the created user here? Abdul Hamid is the created user. So in this case, while I'm creating a new record, you don't have the updated user and updated timestamp assume that. Then the next day, when the same user comes in and then update my profile image. So what happens now? Yeah, updated timestamp and updated user will be created. So with my login ID details. So the record is updated, whereas you have the updated timestamp is being changed and the updated user is also being changed. So these are the things to have an audit trail because uh, can you guess why we are maintaining this audit trail? Can you guess? So any company for that matter, why they are supposed to have the audit trail?
No idea.
No idea. So uh, the reason behind this is, say you have a, let's take the same insurance application. Okay,
Okay.
the same insurance application. The agent user comes and says that I have given you 20 uh, premiums today via my agency, but
Okay.
they- but the insurance company says no, you have provided only 18 today. We have the records. So how we are going to justify that? How we are going to
So
prove that
like
we
a
are
proof,
getting
right?
yeah? Like it?
Like a proof.
I'm not getting you. Sorry, the word is not clear to me.
Like the proof, like what he said 20, right? And again he said 8. Like to act as a proof, they maintain the audit call.
Yeah, so everything is for the record basis. So I can very well go and query and show you, you know, for this agent. Say for example, agency ID, uh, 12345. So this is the agent ID. So for this agent ID, I can simply go to the database and query and show. So for your agent ID 12345, these are the insurance premiums that are being created on this particular date. So end of the month, what is your commission for this? So I'm going to settle you. So for all these seasons, so any record that is being created or updated, who is the concerned user who has done it? So all these things we are going to capture in the audit trail. That is the reason we have the audit trail. For any future instances that are going to occur, we need to have the proof of showing the history. So that is the reason we maintain the audit trail.
Okay.
Mm. I don't think these data currency aspects are these used these days. It's about how the current data that whatever the current data that you are having are up to the mark for the recent past approach. So whether it's a very old historic data that you are going to use. So this thing I am not also I have not also come across this particular case. Then reliability of the system. So what is the downtime? Say you are running an insurance application, which has to be available round the clock 24 hours. Now, if certain things break, so how you are going to you know build back the solution, bring back the application. So whenever you are using, say for example, you are accessing your bank account, maybe on Sundays between 12 to 2 a.m. they will say we are having a downtime of 2 hours and then for the maintenance. So they will select a time uh, that is not being used by the so majority of the users. So they will have the statistics on which particular timing the majority of users are not using the application. Then select that particular time and then say that we are going to have a downtime in order to have a routine maintenance. So that is one of the case. Then if your application crashes or if your app crashes for certain reason, unknown reasons or due to some exception, so what is the time within which you can bring back the application? So that is the reliability. Okay. So here the client may be your client company may be requesting. So if certain things happens, I can wait for 2 hours or I can wait for 3 hours. I cannot make my customers to wait for hours and hours in order to do that. So based upon that system, based upon the request, then you are going to build your own system in such a way that the SLA is not breached. System level agreement is not breached. So here they are stating about the mean time between failure, mean time to failure, and then mean time to repair. Those are the aspects that we are going to have as a theoretical approach, but basically these are not the items that we are going to use here. So what we are basically focusing on the reliability is how reliable is your system if certain loss happens, whether you are going to loss in terms of the timing or loss in terms of revenue or loss in terms of any productivity. Okay. So if your system is down between Monday 10 to 12, now AM, 10 AM to 12 PM. Now in this case, the agency user is not able to log into the application and then will not be able to create the premium. Okay, he will not be able to provide the insurance. So this is the situation in which the productivity is lost. So that is one case. Then if you are losing a data, certain data, if you are losing a certain data, is there a loss in revenue? Always, any company for that matter will be much dependent upon the revenue. Uh, so those revenue details must not be lost. Means the premium amount that is being calculated, the premium that is being collected must not be lost. So if the data crashes, if the system crashes, so those aspects you have to consider, and then you must always have a recovery plan for it. So that is what is reliability. So reliability and recoverability are interchangeably, dependent on each other. So if reliability is good, then recoverability is also good. If reliability is low, then your recoverability also will be low. What is the measure that you are going to take in order to recover the system back and then put it back into the path? So that is the reliability and recoverability. Okay. Then the third thing is about the system availability. As I stated, always the system is supposed to work round the clock for 24 hours, but you will have some routine maintenance every month on 30th of every month. Say between night 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. I am going for routine maintenance. So during which the system is not available. Say for a banking application, for example, this might be the case. Okay. Got it?
Yes, Abdul.
Okay. Then fault tolerance. Here, I don't think we have been using these days all this fault tolerance. For most of the for most of the applications, there are no fault tolerance requirements. So I have not come across this case. So honestly speaking, about this fault tolerance, maybe some other projects where they are involved into the like mission related projects, they might be using it. But I have not come across certain case of this. Then speaking about the performances, what is the time at which your system is going to respond for any queries? Say for example, the same. Let us take the same application of having this uh, flight booking. Okay, for a flight booking, if you are providing a from date and to date, from location to location, and then for one way you are going to select, you are selecting a particular date. So what is the response time in which the results are being shown to the user? Okay, what is the expected volume? What is the throughput? So all these items, it's basically the performance. How well your system performs, your application performs to the queries made by the user will be the case here. Okay, then the capacity here basically the scaling up of the application. So at the same time, at any one point of time, how much the application number of users are going to use this application. So based on this, you build a robust application. Say if it is going to be say for example a booking site, then the number of users at any particular point of time, for example between 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. will be spiking number of users, whereas after 12 the number of users will be reducing. So during this time it should not break. Okay, say for example income tax filing site. So between January to March, the number of users using the income tax application will be too much. So based on this number of the highest number of volume, you build the application. So you find what is the maximum number of volume. So based on this maximum number of volume of the users, you build the application so that it is not broken at any point of time. So that is the capacity. Here the data retention refers to, say there are so many data coming into your application. So how long you are going to have, or if say for example you have your um, say for example you are creating an account in a bank, okay, and you are going to use it for few years. After some time you are not going to use the account. Say for example if you are not using the account for 2-3 years, then your account will be notified as a dormant account, means it is no more active. Okay, you will be receiving the messages from the bank that your account is going to become dormant. Do some transactions in order to remain as an active customer, right?
Okay.
So why they are trying to do is, so they are trying to move the inactive account to an active place, so that the too much volume of the data is being minimized. Okay,
Okay.
that is what the data retention is. I think we have discussed about the requirement traceability matrix already just in the starting of the session. So it's basically